Okay, so this video is all going to be on Steven Guilbeault, the radical environment minister. Now, I know some of you probably don't want to hear me talk for the first 30 seconds, so just skip past it. I've already put where you can skip the intro in the chapters. But anybody who is subscribed, and if you do feel like supporting the channel a little bit more, I usually don't like to turn on this feature on YouTube, the little join feature, where it gives you the option for like monthly memberships. But basically, YouTube's running a promotion right now, and so for every new member who does join on the channel, YouTube's essentially going to match it, and it helps support the work that I do. Tried to set up some cool little perks. There's cool custom emojis. There's some badges that'll go beside your name on the live streams. I'm going to try and take video requests from my members, so if anybody wants me to do a video on something specific. But for now, I just wanted to get that out there, guys, and let's just get right to the video.
Steven Guilbeault becomes the environment minister. He has gone from a climate activist to a climate actor. Here he is after he climbed the CN Tower in 2001. Okay, he was arrested for doing this as part of Greenpeace.
Yeah.
Here's what he was like 10 years ago.
Greenpeace is climbing the world's tallest building today to tell the world not to be fooled by the Liberal government. As the talk on climate change starts, we want to tell the world that the Bush and Canadian administration are out to kill the Kyoto Protocol.
Sorry, that was 20 years ago. Gosh, time flies. That's 20 years ago. Glenn, what do you expect from him now?
People change. People change.
That was bad.
Look, I don't think. 20 years, a long time ago. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, he will be a very visible environment minister. I think they will put him out in front on a lot of things, but he won't be industry facing. And I think that's really the key here is that Jonathan Wilkinson moving to natural resources. He's the guy who's going to have to deal with the oil and gas sector. He's the guy who's going to deal with provincial energy ministers, especially in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Newfoundland and Labrador, and I think Mr. Guilbeault is going to be the guy they send out to open the new Tesla charging station on the 401. I don't think, and I think they're going to be very cautious about the fact that he has had that history that will make him a lightning rod for a lot of people.
Just a refresher, this is the history we're talking about. Now, what's really interesting is his business dealings. Take a look at this. So this is the Prime Minister's website. This shows you information on Liberal MPs that are in the cabinet currently, and we have the Honourable Steven Guilbeault, Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Now, I just want to go down right to here, this line here, where it says, Minister Guilbeault co-founded the company Équiterre. I don't even know how you say it. It's too French for me. The largest environmental organization in Quebec, and he served as the senior director from 2008 until 2018. Now, obviously, he became a member of parliament in 2019, so he would have had to recuse himself before he got elected and before he became the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. Now, what's interesting enough is that on the Government of Canada's own website, all I did was take a quick search of his old company, and you can see that they've been getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in government grants. For millions here on this one, for certain projects after he became a minister and elected as an MP. Obviously, he's recused himself from any of these business dealings, but is there maybe some influence coming from him? So I decided to follow the money further. Okay, so just from a quick Google search, who runs the company? Obviously, key people who founded are apparently Steven Guilbeault and another figure named Sidney Ribault. We're going to go and look at this fellow. According to his LinkedIn, he hasn't had any business dealings with the company since May 2019, which is interesting because another organization that he's in dealings with says Sidney helped found the company in 1993. He chaired the board of directors until 98. Since then, as an executive director, he has participated in all forms of activities, from development to implementation to funding. However, he's not listed anywhere on the board of directors under their website. Now, we all know it's hard to trust Steven Guilbeault when it comes to telling the truth, just like a lot of Liberals. But remember that time when he said, oh, we'd like to stop building roads, and then all of a sudden he never said that?
That's not what I said.
Yes, it is.
Wait. Facing a cross-country backlash, the environment minister now appearing to backtrack on comments he made earlier this week. Guilbeault spoke at this event where, according to a newspaper, he said, our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. There will be no more envelopes for the federal government to enlarge the road network. The blowback followed.
These comments have obviously made a lot of us very nervous that they're not going to be the partner for us.
The environment minister has once again demonstrated how tone deaf he is on anything to do with environmental issues.
The Conservatives called it an extreme policy by an extreme environment minister.
We need to invest. We need to build the things that Canadians need to live in the type of country we live in. I think of my own riding, which is 100 kilometers from Vancouver. You need to drive the car.
Wednesday, Guilbeault told reporters, he says, what he meant to say.
What I have said is that the solutions to our transport challenge pass by many different things, including massive investment in public transit.
First, the minister said he was talking about large projects like this multi-billion-dollar tunnel to Quebec City. His office later clarified he was only talking about this specific project. Justin Trudeau rose to Guilbeault's defense.
Once again, the minister has clarified his remarks. Our government's approach to investing in trade corridors and roads that Canadians rely on has not changed since 2015.
And then right after that, he had to get a little bit more specific and backtrack on what he said.
What I've said several times, and I will repeat it here for the committee, I should have specified that these comments were made in the context of the third link in Quebec City.
Or what about the time he blocked Ezra from Rebel News and then had to get the taxpayer to pay $250,000 in legal fees because apparently he doesn't have to pay for that himself. And then after, what did the judge say the verdict was? You have to pay up another $20,000 for damages caused to Rebel News. Did he pay the $20,000 himself? No. Take a look at what he did instead.
Minister Guilbeault, you lost a court case to me, and the judge ordered you to pay $20,000, but instead of paying it yourself, you had taxpayers pay for it. Why? Minister Guilbeault, the court ordered you to pay me $20,000, but you foisted that on taxpayers instead. You illegally blocked me on Twitter. You fought for 2 years. You used $250,000 in taxpayers' money, and then you stiffed the taxpayer and foisted the bill on them. Why did you do that? Why don't you think you have to answer for $20,000 of legal bills that you send to the taxpayer to pay your fine? Why aren't you talking about it? You had a lot to say in court. You claimed that your Twitter account was a personal account. If that's the case, why didn't you pay the fine personally? Do you disrespect taxpayers, Mr. Guilbeault? Sure seems that way. Hey, you're on the board of a Chinese agency, a Chinese government agency for the environment. How is that not a conflict of interest, given that you're in the Canadian cabinet? Is that why you never criticize China, the world's largest producer of plastic? Why are your staff pulling at me? Why are they assaulting me, sir? Why don't you ever criticize China? Have you received help from China in your political campaigns too?
He won't answer.
China refuses to sign the anti-plastics treaty. Why are you forcing that on Canadians?
What does that mean, the registry, Mr. Guilbeault? What do you mean by it? What is the cost that the organization and taxpayer will need to pay for your registry?
Run away! Run away!
Just in case you don't know what they're talking about, this is the plastic registry that he mentioned.
I'm excited to announce a new federal plastic registry, which will increase transparency and help make producers responsible.
And then right after that situation, he's basically made sure that nobody on the other side can ask him questions like that ever again.
Mr. Geebo, I just want to clarify something. Ever since myself and Ezra Levin asked you a question earlier this week outside of the summit, our team had our media accreditation removed until we issue a legal demand letter in response. Today, for us to get inside this conference, I was lied about this conference to be postponed and to be changed, and nobody had get back to me. It was hard to get here. So how come the United Nations and yourself are not for press freedom? Our question is too hard?
I think I heard your colleague, Mr. Levin, thank the United Nations the other day in the press conference for taking his question. Obviously, Canada does not issue accreditation for media or for participant. This is a United Nations forum, but your colleague thanked the United Nations the other day.
Yeah, but how come your media relation actually lied to me and
he doesn't want
and
to take
actually
your
tell
question.
me that that was not happening anymore and that was postponed for this afternoon?
I have worked with my colleague for 4 years, and she's never lied. So I'm sorry, but I profoundly disagree with the characterization of your question.
What do you think is the biggest sticking point between now and actual land? Is it the idea of a production camp, or is it something else?
As I said, there are many things that we need to agree on, and I don't think there's one sticking point. And in fact, the conversation on how we get to eliminate plastic pollution by 2040 is only really starting now. So I think there are a lot of things where
give me a plastic straw.
I feel that there's large consensus on the fact that we need to ban certain single-use plastics.
Ban drugs in
better
BC. How about
and
that?
increase recycled content for the fabrication of plastics. And I've even heard some very large multinationals tell me we want to have access to recycled plastic, so we don't need to use virgin plastics anymore. We need to do a better job in designing plastics so that they can be more easily reusable or recyclable. We need to do a better job on labeling. And I think all of these things, or many of these things, we can agree that we all need to do that, everyone around the world, so that there is a level playing field and we don't end up with a patchwork of policies and measures around the world, and that even the private sector is calling for. Large multinationals are saying we need a legally binding plastics treaty, which is obviously in stark contrast with the position of the Conservative Party of Canada, who just issued a petition saying we need to bring back plastic straws because there's no environmental problem with plastics, where there are 200 countries
Please bring
in the
back
world,
plastic straws.
Unilever, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola, who profoundly disagree with the Conservative Party of Canada's position on plastic pollution.
Last question. Regarding the treaty, Mr. Guilbeault.
I'm sorry, but this gentleman hasn't asked a question.
Or what about the time he got asked if more carbon tax would solve forest fires? Watch this.
You mentioned extreme events like wildfires and hurricanes. Why has your carbon tax not stopped those things if that is the answer to these problems?
This question, which I've heard in the House of Commons by many Conservative Party members, including Pierre Poilievre, is yet another example of the fundamental disbelief that you have in climate science and in science full stop. We won't solve climate change overnight, and we certainly won't solve climate change with empty slogans. It's going to take years of hard work to tackle this environmental crisis, and the fact that you believe that somehow we can flick a switch on a wall and everything's going to be fine just shows how the total ignorance that you and many others have when it comes to the issue of climate change.
All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. That's all I've got for now on Steven Guilbeault. I'll try and do another video follow-up on him. I got more Liberal MPs to look into, and I'm only going to do deeper dives. So keep watching, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one.